I'm from Queens, bro. I grew up in Cambria Heights, born and raised in Queens. So I've always done music. Um, my family on both sides, of both my mom and dad's side, are very musically talented, and so I've been around music my entire life. Started out with the drums. What little 2 3 year old black son is not gonna be playing no drums in church, being on mom's pots and pans. So that's how it all started. Um, then as I got older, I just dabbled in different things. I tried guitar. Um, my dad plays, and he still plays. We actually still play together, actually, in church. But he's the one that kind of exposed me to everything because he was playing organ at one church, then playing guitar at another church, and then playing bass at another church. So I've always been surrounded by it. And, I have people on my mom's side who sings and DJs and all of that good stuff. So I've always been around it. Um, it's a very funny story actually. So my dad had this huge piano. So I'm always thinking about the age. I don't remember how old I was. I think about it as like how can I put it? Like what grade I was when things happened. So this started in like eighth, ninth grade, somewhere in that area, right? And my dad had a huge piano, and yeah, our own little music room. So yeah, a huge piano or whatever. And I'm sitting there, I'm taking around with it. It's not really going well. Um, and you already know that I'm very devout Christian individual, and so I prayed. So I'm just like, yo, I didn't say yo Jesus, but something like that, right? So I'm just like, Lord, if you teach me how to play piano, I'll always give it back to you. And it's literally from that moment on that things just literally took off from that standpoint. So that's when it really became real. You gotta be careful what you pay for, right? That's when it really became real about what's going on. It's a loaded question. It started in church, so definitely gospel music is the foundation of what I grew on. Just because that's where I've learned. You know what I mean? That's the place I was able to express and to be able to play and practice. So, essentially the more you're around something is the more it's gonna influence you and influence your sound and how you do something. And so it was church, play drums in church. I really didn't get into quote unquote secular stuff until college. That's when I was able to actually study music, but they didn't offer gospel, they offer jazz, which is gospel music. It's the parent of the genre. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's pretty much my background. It's just gospel, jazz, R&B, that whole subset. It's just one big family. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm dibble dabbling. I always loved piano. Like it was just something about the piano and like the organ that it was just like mesmerizing to me. Um, So even the church that I was going to, the pastor was also the praise and worship leader. So he would actually sing and play at the same time. And then after service, he will sit me down, like because I will play drums for the service. So he will sit me down after service, and we will go through a few things, and just it was just a love and a passion. And it came to a point where it became a necessity because everywhere that I was going, there were millions of drummers, but there were no piano players. So then that was just another motivation of why maybe I should take a deeper look at it outside of the normal, just like, oh, I just wanted to do it. You know what I mean? Like I had something I could kind of attach to it. And the same thing with the rest of the instruments, bass. The only reason why I really started taking bass seriously because I was taking band in college, and for 2 semesters or 3 semesters, we didn't have any bass players that signed up for band. So you can imagine trying to play jazz pieces and you're doing the key bass with your fingers, and your hands are cramping, and it's not working at all. You know what I'm saying? And so that was another thing that I'm just like, you know what? All right, I could pick things up quickly. Maybe I should try to learn X, Y, and Z, and it just ended up working out. And so that's pretty much how all of that came about. You try to get me in trouble, gave too many people. Oh my God. Musicians I had the privilege of playing besides, Mark Adams from your college, he's my college professor. Tom Slabinger, he was the faculty that taught big band when I was in college, and ever after, that's right, Big Tom with the ponytail, right? And after, and after, uh, after Big Band, we kept in contact in terms of like specific gigs and stuff like that if they needed me to do. So I was able to work along them. And in the gospel scene, I was able to work with so many people. If I name all of them, I'm gonna forget a few and get in trouble. It's a lot of people. A lot. Uh, yeah, no, it's just too many people to name. Like it's just a lot of great people who I would love to work with or play with. Um, I would love to work with Corey Henry one day. Corey Henry for sure. Um, huh? Corey? Corey Henry? You never heard of Corey Henry? You need to look him up. He's nasty. Definitely want to work with Corey. Um, uh, who else would I want to work with? Robert Glasper for sure. He got me through college and through life, boy. That dude, yeah, homeboy is nasty. And so many more. I can't even think of too many right now. Too much on my mind, but definitely those two are like in my top five. It's whatever feels good. Or what if I never heard the song on the radio before, what would I have wanted it to sound like? You know what I mean? And that's the approach that I take. Sometimes the song could just be playing and then I get a little melody in my head and we say, all right, so I'm just gonna practice it a little bit. And before you know it, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could post it. You know what I mean? But a lot of times a lot of times it's not really a thought of like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and do a Michael Jackson cover. I'm gonna do that today. It doesn't really work out like that. It generally starts out as I'm just practicing stuff. The song comes up, song stays in my mind, and something just ends up coming out. Yeah, so I'm weird when it comes to that. It's more spontaneous on the spot. There's nothing generally really planned out, you know. Um, that's a good question. I won't say that I will feel conflicted. I just know where I fit in. If that makes sense. So take for example, you know, gospel versus jazz. If we take let's just take the blues for example. If you remove the music, I'm sorry, if you remove the vocals from a secular blues song and a gospel blues song, there's a very good chance you're gonna hear the exact same chords played the exact same way. The only thing different are the lyrics that are accompanying the song. And so that's why I don't feel conflicted because I know one, I know where my heart is. Two, I know how far I can go comfortably. You know what I mean? Before I'm just like, all right, I gotta be careful, Steve. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain covers of songs I just won't do. You rather the message or is this too vulgar? Whatever it is, you kind of know the limits, based on your own personal convictions and what you have going on. But outside of that, I can't really see that it limits me. If you know the person's character, then the music is kind of gonna point. How can I put it? The music that the person listens to is gonna point back to how they are as a person. But my thing is everything especially when it comes to like music and Hollywood and movies, I feel like everything could be used as an evangelism tool, but I feel people kind of take the limits off of what they're used to. It's not gonna happen. Like for example, trap music. Am I the biggest fan of trap music? Like, no, not really. I know people who bump trap music like all the time. Yeah, absolutely. So why not create a platform if someone likes trap music and they're listening to lyrics about, drug dealing, killing, and shooting, and then you same trap beat, but now we're talking about the love of Christ. What's the issue in that? You know what I'm saying? You're getting the point across where now you have the dude walking down bumping, you are Jesus, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather hear that than the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or even with Hollywood, how how are Christians supposed to affect the world if they're staying away from certain aspect of it? Like, don't get me wrong, the scripture talks about that we are of the world, but we're not in the world, absolutely. But it also talks about going into all of the world to spread the gospel. So Hollywood needs to know about Jesus too. You know what I'm saying? And so, like you were mentioning, or like you mentioned before, the whole aspect of knowing your limits. I've heard of certain Christian actors who turned down roles because they're just like, you know what, this is really, it's kind of stretching it, so I'm not comfortable doing it. And that was published. You don't really hear that anymore. Now you're hearing people just compromising or doing all this other stuff that they really shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, man. We just gotta take the limits off and just help people. It's really what it comes down to. All right, so it's gonna sound weird, but up and coming musicians who are learning, I would tell them in the very beginning to find someone that they like and copy what they do, sound wise, until they get to the point where they could develop their own sound. Um, there's only 12 notes in music. Things gonna sound the same, right? You're gonna so find a specific player that kind of caters to how you want to learn how to play, study and copy what they do, and then once you become competent, once you know what's going on, then you can make it your own. I don't have the light joint up here, so I'm kind of yeah. Past projects I did release an album called Groove Central. It is on iTunes, Spotify, Google Music, YouTube, all that good stuff. It was my first experimental, let's see how it goes type of situation. Learned a lot from it. Got smacked up a lot over it. Not physically or verbally, but results wise. Because it's your first album, you thinking that your first album you're gonna do 5 million streams in a day, and it just didn't work out like that. You know what I'm saying? And from there, I was really focusing more on covers just for the fun of it. I can't say that after the album was released that I was encouraged to do another one. Um, just from how the support aspect, some people listen and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But it wasn't really like support. You know what I'm saying? Um, and yeah, we're not gonna talk about that album. Anyway, so I just been working on covers and whatnot. I am debating on releasing a few originals. Pop maybe this year, maybe next year, not too sure. Just gotta find out. Um, but it took me a while to get to the point to be okay with trying to or release original stuff again. Um, yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Self-confidence because music is a area that will humble you severely if you feel like your head getting too big or you feel like you're the greatest of all time. Always someone that's positive about you, always someone that's gonna be better than that. There was one time, I got choked up so bad that I didn't. I didn't look at my keyboard. I didn't touch it. Like, ew, my pride hurt. You know what I'm saying? But that I would say that was the biggest hurdle. Like, you always got to stay humble. Always that humility will take you a very long way. Um, but that so I was playing keys at an event, right? And I was feeling myself a little bit too much. I was like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm Steve. What are you talking about? Don't play that. What's going on? So there was this other guy. He's not that much older than me. Um, and he comes up. He's like, yo, can I play that? Please? I'm just like, yeah, man, this is not my church. I'm sitting at the chair. I'm like, no one's talking about. What are you talking about? You got to stink, man. What are you talking about? Homeboy wrecked everything. When I'm sitting there, I'm just like, and so he was just like, "All right, bro, you want to come back? You got it." I'm just like, "No, no, you got it, man. You got it." And I was done. He was just like, "Yo, you sure?" I'm just like, "Yeah, just stay up there, bro. Just you're good. You're right there." First and last time I got caught like that, slipping, son. I'm just like, oh nah, feel different. So my church, the Sanctuary of Belmont, whoop, whoop, they were very innovative. So instead of having live services, we have a lot of people who are like professional photographers and videographers. We went from having live services to do pre-recordings, where we would literally pre-record the service and then on Sunday morning release it. And so it went from, fortunately, we had the team members to able to do that. I know a lot of churches were able to do that. So some churches I heard was still having services just with masks, or some churches just closed down. And it got to the point where even other churches started reaching out to me to see if I could fill in for their services because I was free. Excuse me. My Sundays were free now because, so yeah, so I mean, fortunately, my church didn't have to close. My church had to close down in terms of in-person services, but we were still able to, you know, record something and release it so that even if it's virtual from home, people still have something to plug into.